All right, welcome to Shunya One, episode 123. Very interesting and special episode. Obviously, we are here in 2021 when we've restarted doing Shunya One. A lot of things have happened in the past year. A lot of things have changed. But one of the most interesting things that have happened for this team, at least, is that we've actually been we've now become part of a much larger and very interesting company. So Amit, how are you doing? And before we introduce our guest, why don't you talk a little bit about you know uh, what am I exactly
Yeah,
talking
sure.
about?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been a great, fantastic year. One of the things that has happened this year is IVM was acquired by Pratilipi. And I'm sure most of our listeners are familiar with Pratilipi, but I mean, it's a incredible platform that does some really cool stuff on the literature side of things. And they're expanding into a bunch of other different areas. And we couldn't be happier. I mean, it's been 6 months since we've been a little under 6 months since we've been a part of Pratilipi at this point in time, and it's just been it's blown away all expectations from a company ambition point of view, a company culture point of view. Yeah, we just could not be happier to be part of this group.
Awesome, and that's
Yep.
the perfect segue into introducing one of our special guests today. Welcome, Shally, to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks
uh,
for inviting.
Yeah. I mean, we've been wanting to talk to you for a while, of course. And Shally, of course, you're the co-founder of Pratilipi. So there's a lot we want to ask you about and, get to know, obviously, the platform and everything that you guys are doing a lot more. But I'd love to first hear your personal story a little bit, I mean, and how it ties into the Pratilipi story, of course. So could you give us a little background and introduction of yourself?
Yeah, sure. So, I think back then in 2013, Ranjit and I were the Vodafone colleagues, and that's how So we were good friends then, and then he left to figure out something he wanted to start for a long time, right? So when I came across this idea, and I heard about that he's planning to start something of this sort where he's going to provide platform for writers. Now at that time I'm still an ardent reader and an occasional writer. So I write in my mother tongue, which is Gujarati. I write in Hindi, English. And I was well familiar with the idea that back then in 2013, 2014, if you wish to reach out to larger audience, you had very limited ways, right? So either you are writing on Facebook, or you are like probably blogging very consistently for years together. You'll probably able to reach out to more than like 1,000 to 1,000 audience, right? So, and when I heard about this idea, and when I heard about that, we are probably, as in Ranjit was talking about building a platform, where I had zero idea that how this entire thing is going to turn out. But the idea resonated that we are going to work on something, or we are going to solve a problem where writers are going to get a larger audience. They just have to focus on writing a story. They don't have to worry about who all going to read them when. It's just they have to pour their heart in writing story, and that's where I thought that probably this is something I can even pursue, and that's how I actually considered to be part of Pratilipi, and yeah, and then here we are.
Wow. And like just that one thought. I mean, I know this is probably been part of your early pitch decks to investors and whatnot.
Yeah,
That early vision of, like you said, what Ranjit had put on
correct.
paper,
Yeah,
of writers or actual, like it started out with actually just writers, and now of course
correct,
it's,
correct.
I think the appropriate word is content creators.
Yes.
But uh, but what did you see in the space? Like, what were the metrics that you
Hmm.
all saw, which sort of showed you that this is like a very interesting, viable opportunity? Because it's an uncommon one. Let me like
Correct.
be say this 2013 or 2014 is. Uh, the internet boom sort of was just starting to happen
Correct.
in India.
Correct.
It's still early days, I would
Correct.
say. So
Correct.
what did you see? What was that unique thing you saw back then?
So, to be honest, this pitch deck, as in when Ranjit had shared this idea with us, we never, as in, let me speak about myself. So, I never focused on numbers, to be honest. The reason why I prioritized this over my current job and whatever career trajectory I was looking for myself was essentially around the type of people I had met that day when we were discussing this idea. So I was really I was convinced that I would like to work with this set of people, and that was my first incentive to work and join the startup, even if it doesn't work out, because I wasn't that well aware with the what the question you asked, to be honest, right? We were aware at that time that this is the offline publishing industry and this much to potential to unlock when we are bringing content digital. There is a dearth of native language content. So all of this, and to be honest, at that time in Hindi Samay was the biggest website. Web Dunia was the biggest website, right? So we used to see that people used to go there and consume Hindi content. So, but yeah, the preliminary incentive for me was to work with like-minded people, people who challenge us on our day-to-day basis, and I'll learn and I'll grow more here than probably whatever opportunities I had at that time. Even if I'm not drawing any salary for years together, I'll probably would like to work with this set of people. So that was the preliminary incentive. And yeah,
Wow.
I wasn't very clear, to be honest, and being very modest, I wasn't very well aware what I was getting into at that time. So much of content clarity we have right these days that even smaller startups who are just beginning in their journey, they are having so much of clarity of the what they are building, what is STEM, and all of that. They have actually, what is the total addressable audience of this particular problem statement and how they are going to monetize that audience. So that much of clarity I did not have back then. I just
Wow.
figured out, okay, these are the 3 4 people I would like to work with, and I'll just learn on the way.
That's amazing, actually, and that
Yeah.
shows to the quality of folks you're actually talking about here. Of course,
Yeah.
it's very much that it's amazing that this group of people got together and you obviously along with them and built out this platform. But from those early days to now, how was the trajectory? Like, did you see, since maybe you all were the first or unique in a lot of ways to start, but like you said, the space was uncharted,
Explode,
so to
yes.
speak.
Hmm.
So was it like like how long into the journey were there moments where you felt that, oh, I really will not get a salary for a few years, or was it or did you
So
see very early on that, oh, there is something here?
this question is really on the point. So would like to tell you one incident. So early days we were hustling for so Ranjit primarily had borrowed some funds from friends and family, and we were applying in a lot of competitions here and there to just to get us going. So we would probably win somewhere in some sort of pitch deck sort of events where demo day would happen and you'll get a check of 5 lakhs, right? So one of such event was happening in IIM Kolkata, and we were there and we were pitching, and like every single investor who was sitting in the jury, they evaluated, and this is, I'm talking about, I think 2014 and or first quarter of 2015 when we had just begun, right? And they were like, this is a fantastic idea. This is an awesome space to explore. Nobody at that time ever talked about content, like literally nobody, right? So and Indian languages was like, if you literally search for or you browse for Indian language startup, there would be hardly probably you'll be able to count on. All right. So that time, the jury basically unanimously came up with the opinion saying, yeah, we love the hustle, we love the rigor. You guys are coming the clarity of thoughts, but don't you think this is something how you are going to monetize, and this is a lot of a charity thing that you are doing, and not something which on top of you can monetize and make revenue. We are not yet there, so I'm not bragging about that, but still, we have come a long way from those and these are the investors who are probably investing now in connect startup, probably very early stage startups as well, right? So have seen that trajectory, that sort of evolution in thought process in the investment side as well as startups. Now I have seen even people who are sitting on a table discussing about, what are the ideas we can explore in Indian languages, right? So
Wow.
how we can fill the gap for next 1 billion janta, and how what problem we can solve for them, and can actually bring something in action. So have been there. So at that time, food tech was on boom. right? So
Yeah.
everybody was behind that. Like every
Yeah.
single person was into food delivery, right? And we were just sitting here. We had no clue. We had no clue. So and our journey of very first investment we had have in our bank, that even that part was also very different from the way people are currently pitching and they get the money there. Even at the same
Wow.
traction was not the same story, right? So was a hustle, but the journey was like, now at least we are happy that people have realized that there are bigger problems to solve, and like really happy about understanding that maturity is there in the VC front, in the investment side, where people are now looking into it like, okay, this is the entire segment, and that basically happened after Jioka Big Bang
Of course.
launch in 2015. So, but I still remember a day when we had a talk. Ranjit had a word with someone very big in the industry, and that person had said that you'll never cross more than 10,000 titles. There are no, like, you are overestimating your supply side. There are hardly more than 10,000 writers you'll be able to onboard.
Do
And
you want to throw some numbers out in terms of what those numbers actually are now?
correct, correct. So we have like on an average 3.5 lakh contents getting published on our platform every month, and monthly active users are around 35-40,000, and more than 4 lakh writers are writing on Pratilipi at this point. So at least
Wow.
we were confident that no, this is, and that was the person whom we were like, you are basically influenced by, you look up to, right? You look up to their opinions, advice, and then sort of, okay, fine, even if we are not drawing salary, this is definitely something worth solving.
I think that's become the norm. That if an investor says no, that means you definitely have something.
Shelly, one thing which I find really interesting, right, is, I mean, like, you spoke a little bit about the Pratilipi journey, and we can probably come back to that. I find it really interesting of what kind of roles you've taken on in the company
Oh.
internally over the years, right? Can you speak a little bit about that? Because I find that really fascinating how you moved around in different areas
Hmm.
and bringing something like that.
Yeah, so the roadmap. So I'm a medical science student. I was, had there been no Pratilipi, I would have been pursuing my postdoc in structural biology or biophysics.
Ah.
So that was my roadmap back then in 2010, 2012, and since I started in Pratilipi, as I told you earlier, right, that I was quite convinced that writers are going to get benefited a huge time. And so I started off with the supply side. So to start off with, in 2014, I basically worked on Hindi, Gujarati, and Marathi language. Just try to convince those early 100 to 100 writers, make them understand that what we are bringing for them. And so, the very first question was that why would they even publish their content on Pratilipi? Because whatever they were writing currently at that time is fetching them good enough audience. And we definitely were not going to bring them more audience in the very beginning. But we were sure that with once we have reached the critical mass, the cross network visibility is going to give them miraculously high audience than what they were expecting at that time from whatever media. So mostly writers were writing on blogs. They were writing on WordPress and mostly on Facebook. And if they are very lucky and they have explored the network for a long time, then they had a chance to get published in some newspapers and magazines. So started off with that, tried out that role. So basically, it was not my choice that I wanted to work on something. Every time it was more like whatever is needed to be done, you are just needed there. You just hustle there. You just try to bridge the gap. Meanwhile, you do not have a right people who can take over that. And then once you have figured out, okay, this is a better person, subject level expertise as well as the execution part is better than yours, then you just come out of it, right? And then you pick up some other problem. So that has literally been my trajectory in Pratilipi. So first year was with languages and operations, 1.5 year. Launched around 6-7 languages, and as and when the language matures, you have 200-300 people. It becomes a lot more processes comes starting into the picture, right? And I was not very good with once. I am very much 0 to 1 person then of of maintaining, improvising on the process. And that's where, Shankar had so Shankar is also one of the co-founders, and he took over the languages and operations. We have Jitesh, who's also still with us. Both of them, we are lucky that they are still, doing the marvelous job. Then part of the journey I spent with design team. At that time, we had zero in-house designers, so learned a couple of tools here and there. Took help of Gaurav Mathur, also one of our very early investor at that time. I know I used to ask him very silly questions, because every time I'm picking up something which is very foreign to me. I had zero idea, very alien to me, and then you are starting from scratch. So then worked for design, then worked for new initiatives and marketing, then works for collaboration, and then last 1.5 year, 2 years, I'm working in product and tech. So that has been my journey. Yeah.
And that's the true, I would say, founder role, right? You wear whatever hat is needed at the time, I think.
Yep.
But this is really diverse, especially given your original education, I would say, for sure.
Yep. And I think the last stint I opted in was more like we were taking around 100-150 interviews we had taken for the role we were looking for in product, right? That someone might be able to help us. And then it was one day, it was like, okay, enough. Let me just try out myself. I'm not going to interview any more people. Like, Ranjit, you have time, you keep doing that. But let me also, I was very hesitant, because technology, everything is very much different. Education wise as well for me, but then it happened, and now I hope that I'm able to add some value in the ecosystem.
No, of course. And I actually do want to go deeper into the tech side of things, because we also talk a lot about tech here. I mean, the audience loves to know how the tech side of a startup also allows them to scale. So but before we get into those specifics, like, in this journey again, when was that inflection point which you saw where it just stopped being just about writers and suddenly became about this content, vernacular content, and the entire vision that you have? And of course, we as this journey of even of podcasts and whatnot and comics, and like the ecosystem is very diverse. So where did you see that inflection point? It was well after Geo, I'm sure.
Correct. So it was there in so we had thought about comics, we had thought about audio even before we launched our mobile app. So that was in 2016, 2017 we are talking about. So the vision was there. There was not as such any inflection point that now we have decided to expand further, but more like with the journey, it was very consistent journey. We have never been like one over a 2-3 months or over a quarter we have just grown suddenly. We have been growing consistently over a period of months, right? So I think on that note, I would just like to say that something which also comes on the supply side again, but was very convincing for us, that every single person we had met in the industry had basically of the opinion that people will never be comfortable writing on their devices. Right. So launching app generally doesn't make sense in startups like ours. You should be, at least from reading point of view for sure, but not from the writing point of view. And we launched our mobile writer panel anyhow. And was since then, the supply side, as in the writers started creating content like it just shot up. So our numbers basically grew by at least 5x, 10x month on month since we launched our mobile app, right? So people started writing, and currently is the scene where we are seeing that episodic stories of 150 episodes worth long episodic stories, people writing on their devices. So I have personally met writers who are writing these episodic stories, who are sitting in some remote villages of Gujarat and Maharashtra. And if you just look into their life, they are like, I'm part-time working as a compounder in this clinic. And then when I do not have a patients or I do not have a files to handle, I'm just writing the episode, and I'm waiting that at 12 night, I'll just go live, and all my audience or the readers would be waiting for my next episode. And that's very different sort of achievement I am having in my life, where I'm just looking for that sort of recognition, right? So So yeah, so has been, and I'm not sure whether I answered your question, but
No,
yeah.
definitely. And this is in line with, I mean, at least what most other people see as the explosion of other forms of content, right? It's very similar how what TikTok did to the industry, where
Correct.
people got into like dance and all of those other creative expressions. So, and you've seen like people from all quarters do that.
Yep.
So this I think this shows what your original vision, was, that it sort of proves it, that there is a lot of latent, I would say, intelligence of or creativity out there, and writing obviously is one of the most original forms of that, which you were able to tap into. But this is what I was talking about, like the fact that there are so many creators, and again, from a creation and content platform standpoint, we've heard these metrics around the ratio of creators to readers, and how very few people write and a lot more people consume.
Mm.
What kind of ratios do you see? Do you see that are they different across different mediums?
Mm.
What is it for you guys?
I think in comics and audio, since you talked about different mediums, so I think comics and audio, we are very nascent stage right now. So we are basically PUGC, as in platform first approach is there. We haven't yet gone full-fledged on user-generated content, either on comics or audio yet. But on literature product, I can say the ratio is very similar to the rest of the platforms out there. But a kind of network effect, what we are seeing rolling in the picture is if you just look at 70% of our new writers who are coming in and starting their first content on Pratilipi are basically power readers of the platform. So when I say power readers, are they have consumed probably more than 45, 50 stories. And so it happens this way that you start your journey on Pratilipi, you came across some ad or some referral or word of mouth that, hey, you can go and read story. Then you basically get into the habit, you start reading episodic stories, you have consumed more than 45, 50 stories, and then you are also convinced that, hey, I also have a story to tell. So if these people can write stories and we are reading to them, so let me also try out. And then the journey begins there. So it's more like our readers who are reading probably more than X contents, they start writing, and that's how our literally the network effect on supply side is rolling. So the ratio is still same, to be honest. So it's basically 2.5% of the total reader base on Pratilipi.
Lovely. I want to actually get back to what I was asking earlier about the tech side of things, right? I mean, while you've seen this massive growth of, or rather proving of your hypothesis in this domain, how have you taken advantage of tech for that? I mean, you mentioned one thing just now, that when you launched a creator app, something which you didn't think would work, it sort of allowed people to create content on the fly wherever they were, whatever time. What else have you done, or what else have you realized in the tech sort of roadmap of where you've gone, especially your role as product as now?
Correct. Yeah. So, to be honest, even I have learned on my way. So, I never had, from very beginning when I joined product, I was very naive. I never knew anything. I was just focused on solving one problem at a time. We are working on something. Let's come up with hypothesis. And then in the journey, I learned a lot of things. But then I think at this point, we can say that even right now, whenever we are picking up a problem that we would be giving this problem some weightage in our roadmap in this quarter, which is also aligned at company level priorities. Even at this point, we are not sure that what is going to work out, right? So it's more like having the most confidence over looking at the data, looking at the user feedback. You come up with the best hypothesis, and then you double down on those. So basically, you just try out 50 different things in the smallest of the time duration. You get the confidence, okay, fine, this is giving me the best result, and probably if I launch the MVP of the same, I might be able to validate the thesis better, right? And that's where probably so that's how basically the things roll in Pratilipi, right? So
Nice.
yeah, so now we have much more clarity. Back then when we had started out in when I had started out in product. So so yeah, that's literally how the roadmap rolls.
Nice. And throughout this, especially when you diversified into other forms of content, like you said, comics and now audio, Obviously you've had to add a lot of folks to the team, the kind of disciplines you have, and of course leading to even like now with IVM, like acquiring other teams as well. What has been your vision in terms of how to get the best people for the job? Like you said, like product, obviously you said this, and I'm not getting someone, I'm going to do it myself. But what about these other disciplines? Because
Correct.
it's a very diverse set of things you have to deal with from what I understand.
Correct. Yeah. So I think that way we have been really lucky that the type of culture we have been able to have in Pratilipi is very different. And even I myself being the co-founder when very initial, I think 2015, 2016, when I came across, I still remember the email where Ranjit had talked about that these are the cultural values and you guys go through it and all of that. So at that time, for me, what is cultural values? Why is this a priority right now? We are basically trying to come up with this many numbers this month, and why we are talking about this. And now I realize in retrospect that how important it played out, and how much of weightage it carried along the journey when we were going through a lot of issues here and there. So answering your question, why I talked about culture is because there are a lot of people within the team who kind of stepped up so well, like someone who has started out as a Android intern ka role, right, and then working in a full capacity of full stack developer, one of the best full stack developer in the team, and kind of running the entire comics division right now, both business and product side. So we were lucky that way that we had that type of culture where we could trust people to try out cross functional roles, and it worked out best for us. So that way, and then it is basically on the functional leaders who are looking after those verticals. So Amit is looking after IVM, and Sachin is looking after comics, and Jugal and Drashti are looking after audio. So it's basically then their decision to how to run their roadmap strategically, keeping in mind that what are the company level priorities and what are the BU metrics we are trying to achieve for year end. So that way I literally have given zero thoughts about that how comics ka roadmap is going to evolve, because I trust Sachin so much, and I have seen him growing so well in the ecosystem that I think nobody else can do better job than him.
Lovely. And that goes to show, I mean, there are actually, you guys are now at a stage, of course, it's been given that, you've been around for some time now. I think I've recently seen some tweets or something about ex-Pratilipi folks becoming founders as well, or the Pratilipi mafia, as you say. So I think that culture document was quite important and relevant even for future generations of startups.
I'll just add something over here, right, which I find really interesting, is that we do these monthly all hands, right? And the first thing, right, for every new person and as a reinforcement for everybody who's already been there, is running through the culture list.
Yes.
It's really interesting to kind of reinforce it in that sense.
Wow, nice. No, and I somehow totally relate to you when you said that why is this necessary? If you recall, do you know how many people you were when this was set out?
Very first email was just marked to, I think, around 4 or 5 people. We were very small team. We were like hardly 8-9 people working at that time.
Wow.
Or
And
11.
It's that important.
Yeah.
But it's that important. If you build it at that root, then it stands. Because I've been in the same position and I've thought, why is this necessary now? But then later realized.
So it's all basically Ranjit who kept reinforcing every time whenever we were taking interviews. How do we do the right hiring? How do we let go of people at what stage? Whatever call you are taking in your day-to-day life, how cultural values basically adds any value in our day-to-day life and the trade-offs we are taking. So that sort of reinforcement is what Amit told about, right? That every all hands, that was just very minuscule part of it. But every now and often you just come across that, okay, fine. We basically double down on people who are very hardworking, who are very hustle first and has some raw smartness. And so, yeah, that's it for us. Now let them explore, give them the entire horizon and they'll come up with their best. Right. So that sort of attitude has worked out really well for us. Yeah.
No, that's a testament to the kind of culture code you're trying to instill. And may I also say that you are doing this while sitting in the middle of Bangalore, in the hotbed of tech, building something which is obviously involves a lot of tech, but also the domain is very creative and very, very not urban per se. It's for the rest of the country, and where you're trying to hold on to culture in a competitive market.
Correct.
So I think that's also a very ambitious, and I mean, kudos to you being able to do that, because at least last many years now, we've been seeing Bangalore is this market where people are so opportunistic. They jump from one place to another. And like, how have you dealt? I mean, do you have a comment on that? If given that you've been hiring so many people or
Correct,
involved
correct. So
in hiring?
it's not me. It's not me. It's the entire team who has been through this journey, and it's the collective effort who's now resonating out that okay, there are outcomes, and these are visible outcomes, and so we are talking about the same right now, right? But yeah, if you are an in-house, as in within the team, if you ask me this question, for me the delta is negligible. As in, I don't see much difference that how we have pulled this thing off. It's basically just happened. And you're just sticking to the right thing to do for people, right? What is the right thing to do in that particular situation for the person involved? You just take that judgment call, and then your bosses or your people whom you report to are basically just trusting on you, and that's just how the entire ecosystem is built, right? So I'm not saying that this is the best place to work, or this is right and this is wrong, but it's kind of working out for us even at this stage. And we have seen that couple of people are not right fit in this culture where they need sort of hand holding. They just get really overwhelmed in so much of freedom that they get just lost that let me know, as in tell us, teach us that what should we do next, right? Some people come out of it and they emerge out really well. It's about the bet you are taking, and it could very well be the case that it doesn't work out for few folks, and it's perfectly all right for us.
So have you also made, I mean, I know I'm getting deeper into the culture side of things, but I think it's relevant for all startups and entrepreneurs, right? You've also had a fairly lean team, I would say, in comparison to other,
Yep,
let me
yep.
just say, Bangalore startups. But how have you sort of maintained that? And is this also because of the same sort of ideals you said?
Correct. So, to be honest, again, I'm not the right person because I have never been in the position to take these calls that I would like to have. I think Gauri, who's a VP engineer, and Ranjit, who basically handles all the functions, all the verticals. But at least being in the ecosystem, I definitely see one thing, which is being lean was the idea from very early on. But then also it was part of that our hiring bar are really, really high, at least for tech and product and design, not, and I think rest of the functions as well. So we interview basically 150, 200 people, and then we are able to roll out an offer where the person might reject, and then we are starting from scratch. Right? So that's an ongoing thing. And could one of the reason I see that the team is really lean is because of that as well, that hiring is tough, very, very tough. And yes, another conscious call was that lean team gives you a lot of flexibility, right? And interpersonal availability within the team, and you learn the fastest, and you grow really because of this flexibility. Wherever you need any changes are required at team level, right? So you just go through that hustle really quick because everybody is aligned. You do not have to come out with a lot of communication, coordination. All the redundant things are out of the picture. So I think that is the clear benefit we are even leveraging right now when we are able to move so fast. I'm not saying that whatever we are doing is like all very picture perfect and 100% right things, but we are learning, and at least that's what it seems.
No, definitely. To bring the conversation a little back to the tech and how you're using that to scale a little bit. Obviously, you guys have built. You're a two-sided marketplace in, again, the VC definitions maybe. So you obviously have a massive audience of consumers who consume content, and then you have the creator side of things where you help them build. You've had to build these tools and tech and all the components for both sides, right? And you spoke about how the creator side is something you've decided to focus on and you've built out and you've seen great results in. how do you now expand this? Like, what's the next stage of the roadmap? Is it more focused on consumer content types? Is it more focused on making creators money?
Correct.
Because you have to balance all these things out all the time. So
Yeah, sure.
what's the vision now?
So I'll kind of give you clarity over a period of years how the roadmap has evolved. So as we talked about the app launch and where we saw that creator side and the content which is getting published every month on month shot up, but that was just the outcome. We never optimized app for that. It was like just to take a decision whether we would like to launch that writer panel or not, right? So our supply side is almost organically coming in, as I was telling you earlier, right? That 70% of our new writers coming in a month are basically ardent readers on the platform and they try out something new, right? So in fact, we started focusing on supply side very late, right? So we have probably been giving out 24-hour support. So I'm very proud of that. Jitesh and team are able to pull that off really well. That any queries coming in from, just try to be there for people who are trying to write something, help them figure out things, right? And obviously few bugs here and there if they are happening in product, we were able to prioritize them. But then essentially the priorities on roadmap have always been around how do we give the most value to our readers uh, as they are the market which we are expanding in. Obviously on supply side we are also in the expansion of the market, but still 98% of our registered user base is readers, right? I'll give you a small example that usually the roadmap kind of covers a type of things where we do not decide until and unless something is very clear at the company level that now we are focusing on X thing and hence the roadmap is changing accordingly. Mostly the roadmap has evolved based on you just look into the data that day in day out how your consumers are behaving, what are the bottlenecks for them there, and then you just talk to your users continuously. So even today I am going through like 1,001 at least 1,000 queries a day, right? So you have a ground level idea that what are the hassles they are facing when they are reading on the platform, what are the issues they are facing, and then you just connect these both two things. So I like to give you one example where we saw a statistically significant jump in the North Star because of that change what we anticipated at both ends. So I think in 2018, somewhere in the last quarter or mid, we saw that a lot of writers had started writing these parts, right? So at that time, we did not have this product functionality where you can connect these episodes with each other and you can come out as an episodic story. So a lot of people were writing live that if you like first part, if I'm getting feedback on the comments, reviews, if I'm convinced that people are interested in reading second part, then I'll go and write second part. And so by doing this, a lot of creators ended up creating a lot of individual parts. Now you assume from a reader's point of view, you are launching the app, and on the homepage, you are seeing some random parts scattered around the recommendation. In horror genre, you are seeing some seventh part of the story, right? And so we also were getting a lot of feedback from the user that I'm not getting the previous part, I'm not getting the next part in this sequel. And also we kind of saw in the data that people who are starting reading the first or second episode, chances of them going searching for the next episode in the app is really good, right? And the conversion is really good. So but we were not sure whether, and so then I talked to Gauri, I talked to other people in the tech team, that if we wish to bring, because this was a fundamental change, it was a huge backend change. So we were not sure that how much time is actually worth to, and we were not sure of the ROI. Right. So basically I talked to these people and they gave me this understanding that, hey, if you are planning for change like this, it might take around 3.5 months. And anything above 7 days in our roadmap is something where we start becoming a little paranoid that how can we give, as in something which is strategically significant is different, right? But where you do not have any idea, how can you double down on something? So we quickly come around with a hack, and I still remember I was working with Sachin. Sachin was a full stack developer at that time working with me, and he in fact himself had suggested, let's try out something like this where people who are finished reading that episode on the bottom, will give them this next episode ka link. So they find the discovery becomes relatively easier, right? And if we see something there, and it was an overnight change, like we did not put out any design efforts, nothing, and we tried out this in web first, right? So that we do not have to roll out an APK even, and we save our efforts there, right? So, and this rolled out, and then we saw over a period of 15 days, 10 days, it definitely the average time duration spent on the web has been going up if people who are engaging with the first episode. So we had some confidence there, and then we launched this change on the app where we did not do anything else, just that discovery at the bottom of the episode that you can continue next episode here. And we clearly saw we got the confidence on various rollout like this, where we had small confidence, and we ended up giving 2 and 3 months of time in totality to bring out this change. And since then we saw that reads per DAO, which is our North Star metric, that is finished reads per user a day, so was earlier, I think it had jumped from I'm not exactly clear with the number, but 3.5 to 4 it was earlier, but someone who was reading the series or the episodic stories, for them it jumped to around 18 or 19 per day per user, right? So that was the jump we saw, and it also actually impacted the top line. So it came out around 7.8 to 8, right? So it had jumped around 70-80%, right? So I think so it was never planned. If you ask me in retrospect, have you ever thought of coming out with the episodic story as a functionality, and had you given it a as an ideation level पे सोचा था इसके बारे में? Never. It was more like just looking into queries, just looking into numbers, then try out a small thesis and getting confidence on top of that, and then you get more confidence and you invest in it fully.
Lovely. No, and that's the right, I mean, that experimentation mindset is essentially, I think that's what you all have inculcated. Try small experiments, measure the outcome, and then of course double down on that, on top of that. But so what is it showing you now, where today you have these properties, you have so much growth? I mean, the people's appetite for content is just undying, I mean, as we see, but you're also like everyone's attention is also competing with a lot of things. I mean, we're always bombarded with social media content, we are bombarded with I mean, obviously actual physical books people still buy. So how do you compete in this space, or rather how do you still keep keep innovating so that this is you stay relevant?
Yeah, I'll just talk about user feedback. Okay, so I don't have that thesis the way other founders and the CEO talk about their vision and the strategy. But at least what I perceive from the feedback is when they are fatigued, right? After consuming a lot of content, which is they are just coming up as a discovery and they did not intend to consume, right? Which could be these small bite-sized videos or others post and all of that. When they are fatigued, they end up with Pratilipi. So I have seen so many user queries where people are saying that this is one space where we are not socially obligated to react or do anything. We are just coming here, we are consuming stories, and we are getting peace of mind. So, and that has same been the, obviously on the supply side or the creator side, the feeling resonates really strong. But when our reader says the same, I think we are not, obviously, when we talk about average session durations or how many readers coming in a day, what is your DAU to MAU ratio and all of that, definitely we are competing in the same space of content consumption. But I think we are fairly assured that the reading habit, right, or the creation ka habit or the content consumption ka habit still stays the same, right, where it is an intended discovery. So once you have been on the product, once you have experienced reading a story on Pratilipi and you had liked reading it, chances of you coming back would be really high. I'm not saying that your frequency would be high, right, because it's a use case is very different from chatting or going and check your friends ka update and all of that. So very different use case. That's where we are trying to bring stronger growth loops, that how do we increase this serendipitous way of coming back on the app and getting hooked to it. So that's still something we are figuring out. But yeah, I don't see, there is something where people are going to get saturated out of one medium and they are going to stop reading. I'm fairly assured. I probably am biased towards being reader myself, but I don't think that is a realistic
No.
possibility.
Definitely not. And I mean, it would be a very sad world to look forward to where there are no readers. So that's definitely not what we want. So,
Yeah.
but this is great. I mean, Shali, thank you so much for sharing so much. I mean, there's a bunch of questions I have, but just to sort of cap this at, what is your? I mean, you've just said you don't have some idealistic vision, but what is your data telling you to go towards next? I mean, are you already monetizing for content, for your reader, for your content creators? Do they see this as a viable place to make money, make a living now?
Correct. So yeah, this is a conscious call. We decided in 2021 that in fact, we had started working on it in last quarter of 2020, and we would like to come up with a lot of hypotheses and try to figure out that what are the best ways we can make our writers earn on the platform of whatever they are creating. So we have been trying out a couple of experiments on that front. We started off with something called virtual gifts, where if you enjoy reading the story, it's totally a voluntary basis, that if you enjoy reading a story, you are not paying anything on the product. If you like reading story, if you wish to support a writer, so these are all virtual gifts you can, which has a denomination associated with it. So if you support, so there is an in-app currency, and so if you support, so this in-app currency goes to writer, some percentage of it, and that basically writers can cash out. So that is something called virtual gifting. Part is there. We are also trying out a subscription, which is writer level subscription, wherein which if you like reading the writer, you can subscribe to a writer, and we are going to launch it probably in 2-3 days. I'm working on my last release days. So so there are a lot of other things in plan we are going to try out. And so basically the idea here is to not to optimize on the revenue or how many unique transacting users are. It's basically just to figure out the momentum, that what is working out best for us and for our writers, right? So are we getting momentum there is something what we are trying to double down on. So this is very early stage for us in the monetization front, that what's going to work out. But yeah, the entire roadmap is drawn accordingly, that we have one thesis in mind, that we are going to give our 100% to that. If we have the confidence, then we are going to double down on that, and that will become the roadmap then.
Of course, in sticking to the culture and the initial, the initial vision that you all had, of course. And that I know I know you're a lean team, and your hiring bar is really high, like you said. But if people want to, let's say, reach out to you, and if you have any other shout out you want to do to others in this space, how do they do that? Are you on social media? Where do you prefer people reaching out to you the most?
Oh yeah, my phone number is publicly available. My email ID is available. I'm available on Twitter, LinkedIn, everywhere. I try to answer people, but LinkedIn I am not very well connected with, because there are a lot of people reaching out there, and I don't have time that much. So yeah, but yeah, I'm like, we are very flexible company, as in, if you, I'd just like to quote one incident with Ranjit. This is not about me, but so we have recently acquired a company called Right Order, who's into on-demand publishing, physical publishing, and the guy tried reaching out to Ranjit's older phone number, right? So, and he could not, because the older phone number is not functional anymore. So he basically sent someone to the office. So he was based out of some other place. He was not in Bangalore. So he sent out someone to the office. So someone inquired on the reception that my friend is trying to reach out to Ranjit, and then so this discovery, and then we the very first few conversation, and then basically we ended up acquiring them, and they are wonderful folks, the age of very, very young folks. But yeah, energy level is superb. But I'm just talking about reachability.
The way it happened.
Correct. So it's all very open. We are probably one of the transparent companies out there.
Lovely. So I think we will of course share your Twitter handle when we publish this. This will be awesome. And unlike what you say about your platform and the kind of people who, the kind of I would say the closing quotes that you give in your content, we do actually ask people to like, share, subscribe, or as they say. So
review is important. Yes, please do the reviews wherever you're listening to this.
Yes, because we do want folks to give us feedback, of course, all the time. I think that's true to the code that we that of content creators. It will only make us better, and of course, review
Correct.
and like and give us stars wherever you're listening to this podcast, even on YouTube or anywhere else. This is great. And Shelly, thank you so much. This was a very interesting conversation. So fascinating to hear your journey and the journey of Pratilipi. 2021 has just begun, so I'm sure it will end with you guys at a whole other level. Really looking forward to it. Yes, and thank you so much again.
Thank you guys for inviting me. It's a
Thank you.
great
Thanks,
great
Shah.
experience. Yeah, bye bye.
Thanks.